It's been 7 years since university. 7 years since Sandra and I went our separate ways. Life had changed for me. I had built a career in Lagos, working as a corporate communication executive in a top firm. My days were filled with meetings, reports, and the noise of Lagos traffic. But every night, while silence crept in, my mind still whispered for her name, Sandra. My family thought I was happy. My colleagues thought I was strong. But deep down, I was still that scared university girl who ran away from love she didn't understand. One Friday evening, I was at a networking event in Victoria Island. A luxury rooftop lounge filled with music, laughter, and the glitters of Lagos elites. I walked in, wearing a tailored white jumpsuit and silver heels, trying to blend confidence with grace. Then I saw her. She hadn't changed much. Still bold, still radiant. Her aura impossible to ignore. She was laughing with a group of business partners, wearing a red designer gown and a smile that made the room pause. Our eyes met, and for the first time in 7 years, my heart remembered how to beat loudly. Later that night, she walked up to me. Her perfume, the same sweet vanilla scent from university days, hit me before her voice did. Jessica, it's been forever. I froze, managing a soft smile. Sandra, you look different. In a good way. We talked like strangers forced to remember their past. Small talk about work, Lagos traffic, and how time flies. But underneath the words, emotions boiled quietly. She handed me her business card. Let's catch up properly. I mean, if you're not too busy being successful. Her tone carried that same teasing warmth from our university days. That night, when I got home, I couldn't sleep. Memories played like film songs. Laughter in the hostel. Study nights, the first time she brushed my hair. And I realized no amount of time had erased her from my memories. We met again the next weekend at a cozy cafe in Lekki. Sandra had started her own fashion brand, luxurious Afrocentric design worn by celebrities. She was thriving, confident, and free. I, on the other hand, had built a life built on appearances, success without peace. Over coffee, we talked for hours about how we grew, about who we became, about the walls we built to survive. Then she said softly, "You left me without saying goodbye. You disappeared. Jessica, do you know what that did to me?" Her words hit me deep. I looked down at my cup, ashamed. I was scared of you, of myself, of what people would say. I responded. She sighed. "And now?" "Now?" I whispered. "I'm still figuring it out." The following weeks, Sandra and I was more of each other. Business brunches, fashion shows, late night calls. It felt like our souls had found their rhythm again. But life was more complicated now. I was engaged. His name was Toby, a kind, stable man who loved me sincerely. He had no idea about my past with Sandra. But every time I sat across from Sandra, my heart betrayed me. The laughter, the spark, the emotional familiarity, it all came rushing back. I found myself torn between two worlds. The safe one I'd built and the real one my heart still longed for. One night, Sandra invited me to her new boutique opening. It was grand. Celebrities, cameras, champagne, luxury cars lined up outside. But in the middle of all the glitz, I saw her, looking breathtaking, powerful, and peaceful. And I wondered, what would my life have been if I hadn't walked away? When the event ended, I found her alone in the office upstairs. She looked up at me. "You came." "Of course I did." She studied my face quietly, then asked, "Are you happy, Jessica?" I tried to answer, but tears betrayed me. I'm not sure anymore, I answered. She walked closer, stopping just a breath away. I never stopped caring about you, but I also learned not to chase what is not ready to be loved. That moment cut deep because it was true. I had spent years running from the truth, and now the truth stood before me, unshaken, self-assured, and free. Months passed. Sandra brand flourished. My engagement ended quietly, not because of her, but because I realized I had been living a lie. One evening, I and Sandra met at the beach, our usual spot back in university. We talked as the sun melted into the ocean. "Do you regret it?" I asked. "No," she smiled. "I think we both found who we are. And even it wasn't together, we laughed, cried, and hugged. Not as lovers rekindling something, but as souls who finally understood the meaning of freedom." They say time heals everything, but sometimes time just teaches you how to carry the pain gracefully. Today, I lived peacefully, not defined by what people think, but by the truth I have embraced. Sandra and I still talk, not every day, not as before, but there is love, quiet, honest love that needs no label. After the breakup and the quiet end of my engagement, I moved into a smaller apartment in Lekki. No more noise, no more pretending. I started therapy, joined a small book club, and took evening walks along the beach where Sandra and I once sat. Each step was a lesson in learning myself again. I discovered that healing wasn't forgetting, it was remembering without breaking. My mother was the first person I needed to fix. We had grown apart, our conversations stiff, with unspoken tension. When I finally visited her, she opened the door with tears in her eyes. "You have lost weight," she said softly. Over dinner, I told her about the pressure I had felt, the love I couldn't explain, and the mistake I had made. She listened quietly. Then she reached across the table and held my hands. "You don't owe the world an apology for being human," she whispered. That night, I realized forgiveness sometimes begins in the kitchen, over soup and silence. Back in the Lagos, I launched a project called Voice of the Unheard, a storytelling platform for young people struggling with identity and acceptance. What started as a side passion grew into a movement. Radio stations invited me to speak. Universities called me to mentor students. Every story I heard healed a small part of me. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was a familiar name, Sandra. "I heard about your project. I am proud of you and would love to support," Sandra told me. My chest tightened, not in pain, but in gratitude. We hadn't spoken for months, yet her words felt like sunlight after a long rain. We met again, not at a party this time, but at a quiet art gallery in Ikoyi. She was radiant, as always, dressed in soft lining and peace. "You look different," she said, smiling. "So do you," I replied. "You look happy." We walked through the gallery, pausing at a painting of two women sitting under a tree, one sketching, the other watching. "That was us," she said softly. "Maybe it still is." I smiled. We talked about everything: work, travel, childhood, regrets. And for the first time, there was no hidden tension. Just two souls who had survived the storm and learned how to breathe again. Before leaving, she said, "I'm glad we didn't lose each other completely." And I answered, "Some friendships are meant to evolve, not end." Months later, Sandra's fashion brand collaborated with my project to create scholarship for creative students. We worked together like old friends, sharing ideas and laughter without the weight of the past. In the quiet moments after our meetings, I often thought about how far we had come, from confusion to clarity, from pain to peace. My project, Voice of the Unheard, had grown beyond my imagination. What started as a small gathering in rented classroom was now being featured on television and sponsored by global NGOs. I had become the person I needed back then. Every time I stepped on a stage, I carried my story with quiet strength, not as a confession, but as a lesson. Healing is contagious, I often said. When one person chooses peace, others learn its possibility. It was during a university seminar in Nsukka that I met Adeze, a bright, shy second-year student studying mass communication. She approached me after my talk, her voice trembling. "Ma, I don't know who to talk to. Everyone says I'm different." Her word pierced something old in me. I saw my younger self, confused, desperate for belonging, trying to fit into a world that didn't understand her. I invited her to join our mentorship program. Weeks later, she became like a little sister, asking questions, seeking advice, and always reminding me that courage often wears a fragile face. Adese began to heal. Slowly, her confidence grew. She started a campus podcast titled The Unspoken, where students discuss self-worth, love, and mental health. Watching her speak made me emotional. Maybe this is what purpose feels like, I thought, when your story becomes someone else's survival guide. One day, as I prepared for our foundation's anniversary event in Lagos, I received a message. It was from Sandra. "Jessica, I heard you are hosting an anniversary gala. I'd love to attend and donate." My heart softened. At the event, she arrived in a white jumpsuit, elegant, confident, radiant. Her presence toned hers, but this time, I wasn't nervous. I was proud. After my keynote speech, we met backstage. "You have built something incredible," she said. "You helped me start it," I replied. She smiled. "Maybe that's what we are meant to do all along. Inspired, not destroy." We hugged, not as ex-lovers or broken souls, but as women who had outgrown the pain that once defined them. Months later, Adeze graduated top of her class. She dedicated her final project to me and Sandra, calling it The Power of Redefining Yourself. During the presentation, I sat beside Sandra. We shared a look that said, "Everything was couldn't." "We were her storm," Sandra whispered, "and her rainbow," I answered. Some stories doesn't end with romance or revenge. They end with redemption. Looking back, I realized my journey wasn't about what I lost, but what I found. Peace, purpose, and people who saw me for who I truly was. Sandra and I now co-run the Voice of the Unheard Foundation, offering scholarships to young creatives across Africa. Our bond is stronger than it's ever been. Honest, pure, unshakable. "Maybe love was never the mistake," I whispered one night. Maybe it was the teacher. And as the night sky stretched over Lagos, I felt it. The quiet satisfaction of a story that had finally come full cycle. Thank you for watching this story, brought to you by African Tales by Amma. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more African love stories and unforgettable moments. Don't forget to leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in my next episode. Bye.